foldable smartphones and tablets. It looks like they're coming at some point. We're here at Lenovo Tech World in San Francisco, and a lot of cool stuff were announced here, like the Tango Ready Fab 2 Pro and the modular Moto Z and Z Force. But the ones we really thought were cool are concepts. Yes, concepts, as in they're not something we'll be buying anytime soon. Either way, it really opens up the idea of what we'll potentially see down the road. Now, during this Q&A session with some of the engineers, we got a sneak peek at two foldable devices. The first one being a foldable smartphone, the one that was shown off during the keynote by Megan McCarthy.
Thank you for such a nice intro. I'm not used to seeing myself on such a big screen, but I kind of like it. And thank you for letting me use your new technology.
When it's flat, it looks very much like an elongated phone from the front. But you know, something's up when you look at it from the back. Obviously, there's more to it than just the display being folded, since the chassis itself bends. Lenovo's concept seems practical because as it's being bended, the interface slowly begins to shift, so that its operation while on your wrist is a little bit more appropriate. What's really interesting is that Lenovo says that folding a display in isn't a problem, but it is when you're bending it out, which is the case here with the smartphone. That's because of how the glass or whatever's covering the panel itself is being stretched. But from what we can see here, it's using this stretchy plastic looking cover. You can visibly see the layer just because it kind of distorts a bit. As for the foldable tablet, it's pretty neat because it can go from a sizable tablet to a phablet sized thing by bending it right in the middle, so you can use it like a phone. Whereas the phone bends in multiple places throughout the chassis, the tablet simply has its bending points around the middle area. And the same plasticky layer covers the display too. These are some pretty cool concepts, especially when they've been optimized to make them practical when they're bent, like how the UI shifts and all. Being concepts, you know that we're thinking a lot about price, even though we won't be seeing them anytime soon. We could only imagine them to be pricey, but hey, it's pretty cool that they fold, and they're coming at some point. And those are the concepts. They seem promising, but we're gonna have to wait longer to actually see them in consumer-ready form. In the meantime, if you guys want to check out all the other cool things we saw at Lenovo Tech World, stop by our website, AndroidAuthority.com, your source for all things Android.
Innovations always start with a single idea that just happens to be revolutionary. Like the new Yotta phone. It combines the features of a regular smartphone with the benefits of electronic paper display. Yotta Phone 2, the world's first mobile that rethinks your relationship with smartphones. The EPD interactive screen is always on, but consumes far less energy and doesn't harm your eyesight. It provides constant access to key information. You can create dashboards based on your personal priorities. The new Yotta phone isn't just another smartphone. Use it completely hands-free. Everything you need is just a glance away. The always-on screen just keeps on displaying missed calls and messages until you react to them by touching it once. Yotta Energy Mode saves your battery's life, switching on automatically when it runs low, dramatically increasing your phone's working capacity. You can turn it on yourself when necessary, keeping all the basic functions in operation, so you can go on as planned. With Yotta Energy, you don't have to think about charging your phone for days. But even if the battery dies, the Yotta Snap feature will keep your vital info on the always-on screen for as long as you need it. So don't worry, you'll never hit a dead end with Yotta Phone. Apart from the latest multimedia possibilities, Yotta Phone 2 reinvents ordinary things, such as reading. Manage your personal library with convenient navigation and get a reading experience beyond regular books. Look up a fact, translate a word, or share a thought-provoking quote. The e-ink screen lets you process more text. It will easily last up to 100 hours. That's more than a week of active reading, all without straining your eyes. It's fully interactive for writing, social networks, and much more. Transfer the extensive resources of an Android to the energy-saving screen with one touch. The electronic paper display banishes sun glare and gives you a wide viewing angle that ensures exceptional readability. As a result, YottaPhone comprehensively outperforms ordinary smartphones. Anything can become a cover. Dynamic wallpaper from the YottaCast collection, a family picture, or an entire slideshow. Decide how you want your phone to be. YottaPhone is an extension of who you are. Adopt a new look whenever the mood strikes. We build every aspect of YottaPhone focusing on the needs of the consumer, often overlooked in the race to technological superiority. Rethinking the smartphone from scratch led us to create a product that not only answers the demands of the modern customer, but opens up a whole new horizon. Because innovative ideas have the power to change the world around us.
Hi, this is Dieter Bohn with The Verge, and I'm in Sunnyvale, California at the offices for Project Ara. It's the moonshot project out of the Advanced Technologies and Products group inside Google, and they're trying to build modular smartphones that will let consumers swap out components on the fly. It sounds like a nerd's dream, but the real dream is to upend how we make and buy phones in the future. Project Ara isn't a phone, it's actually, well, a project. ATAP, a group that in some part came out of DARPA, is essentially just making the instructions for how a modular phone would work. They're developing the technology for the different pieces to talk to each other and working with partners to build prototypes. At the center of it all is an endoskeleton, an unassuming slab with different slots where you can put in modules. There's some wild technology inside this metal frame. Ara is using next-gen, super-fast networking technology to get all the parts to talk to each other. It manages power and lets you hot swap modules. It uses wireless capacitive pads to let the modules communicate with the main board and each other. Even the way the modules lock into the frame is futuristic.
In this lateral direction, they are held using electropermanent magnets, which is a pretty neat technology. It's kind of a cross between a permanent magnet and an electromagnet, in that it has an on state and an off state. It uses an electrical pulse to switch between those two states, but it's a passive component, meaning it consumes no power in both the off state and the on state.
But all that technology doesn't add up to a phone. It's essentially just networking. It doesn't have your main processor, your cellular radio, or even a screen. Adding all those things on piecemeal can make for a pretty bulky phone, but ATAP has managed to build something that doesn't look completely ridiculous.
Trying to keep the form factor of a device to something that we think is elegant and beautiful, where each individual module has this pebble-like, sleek, watertight aesthetic associated with it. And so as a consequence, that leaves, because the form factor is defined by this, that leaves a little bit less area for functional components.
Traditional phones put as many parts as possible on a single circuit board, or even a single chip. Pulling all those things apart into separate modules has costs. The phone gets fatter, battery life drops, and overall the thing gets heavier. Eremenko thinks that he can convince people that the trade-offs are worth it.
And so we want to make sure that overhead, that inefficiency is minimized, and we think the crossover point is somewhere the 1/3 overhead point. We think will come in at about 1/4, or about 25% overhead. And by crossover, I mean that's where consumers are willing to trade some penalty in exchange for the flexibility and for the richness of the ecosystem and the ability to customize functionally and aesthetically.
The aesthetics matter a lot. Even if Eremenko's ambitious plans work out, people still have to want to use the thing. To get there, ATAP is working with a partner to create a first-of-its-kind 3D printer, which will be able to rapidly build customized plastic shells for each module.
What that means is that we'll be able to create module enclosures, which on any given module are user replaceable. We call them shells. And so a consumer in the Ara marketplace will be able to utilize shell maker apps to create beautiful designs that are not just unique, not just custom, but can also be expressive to the consumer.
This week, Eremenko and his team is finally getting into the nitty-gritty of how Aura will work by hosting a conference for hardware developers. The group has an aggressive goal of launching a real product for consumers about a year from now, so getting there won't be easy, and they'll need the support of both big and small manufacturers to do it. The more you think about Project Aura, the crazier and more ambitious it seems. Eremenko's ATAP group itself consists of just a handful of people. They're working with partners to build out the prototypes and create the spec. They're also on an insanely tight schedule, and strangely enough, it's a schedule they've imposed on themselves.
So the internal team, and in this case the team internal to Google, is very, very small, very, very lean. And we're here for a very short period of time. So I had a 2-year tenure. I'm 1 year into my 2-year tenure. The project is scoped to the team's tenure. And as a consequence, the philosophy is that time is not your friend, and innovation under time pressure is higher quality innovation. It tends to get rid of red tape, it tends to get rid of dithering and inability to make decisions, and it tends to take away risk aversion. So it's innovation under time pressure.
ATAP came from a team of people who originally worked at DARPA, pursuing futuristic projects. Eremenko himself had plans for next-generation war vehicles and even something called fractionated spacecraft. ATAP's philosophy is to aim high and demand that you make something real, something more than just a prototype, in only 2 years.
So the ability to take sort of fundamental scientific and technical understanding, groundbreaking physics and technology, and intersect that with a driving, very compelling moonshot practical application. As a consequence, they have to culminate in a demonstration. They can't just culminate in theory or PowerPoint or a lab demo. So the DARPA mantra is that we do demonstrations at convincing scale. And what that means is that the demonstration has to retire all the key technical, business, and market risks.
Demonstrations at convincing scale is a weird phrase, but it's an important one. It means that Project Aura has higher stakes than Google's other moonshot projects like self-driving cars or internet blasting balloons. By this time next year, the ATAP group has to actually prove that Aura can work. It has to have a critical mass of module developers and potential consumers. In fact, they're targeting the 5 billion people who don't yet have a smartphone. If they can pull it off, it could be a huge deal. Hardware manufacturers won't have to try to convince giant phone makers to include their parts on big-name phones. They can just sell them directly to consumers. Consumers won't have to throw away their old phones when they want to upgrade. And the ATAP team, well, they're going to have to find another crazy problem to tackle. Project Aura will be handed off to Google, and Eremenko will be moving on to the next moonshot.
Meet Robin. This is the other side. We made a smartphone, the only cloud-first, design-forward smartphone. We wanted something new, something different, a reboot. No one is making a smartphone. When you get so big, it's hard to see the forest through the trees, let alone the cloud from the forest. Their phones run out of space, they make you delete stuff you don't want to, drop your phone, and you have to start all over. It's not smart, it's shit. Since Robin can run up here, it always has enough storage. This icon, this one's better. And since we actively manage the data, you can keep your photos, songs, videos, and apps. And it does it by being smart, by learning, by adapting. Don't use something for a while? We'll hold it up here. You need it back? We make it rain. They can chase gigs. We'll rock the cloud. Also, Robin looks badass. And kicks ass.
Cutting-edge innovation and technology shouldn't be cold and unreachable. It should be fun and part of daily life. This is eStar's world-first holographic smartphone. So, how do we generate glass-free holograms on smartphones? When we're looking at our smartphone, a camera will quickly track our eye movement. Eye tracking data is sent to our on-chip signal processing unit. It's quickly processed by our eye tracking system, which will lock on to where our eyes are looking. This is very important. Our eye tracking system will adjust the hologram generated based on where your eyes are looking, and you'll immediately see the holographic effect. This is the world's first holographic smartphone with our pioneering eye tracking technology. an innovation dedicated to the smartphone application. We call this Smart Holographics. You'll find 4 cameras on our holographic phone. A perfect air interface. The dual lens camera on the back is not just for taking holographic images, but more importantly, it's designed to collect and process holographic data. So what new user experience will such an innovative holographic smartphone bring us? No more dizziness or narrow viewing angles when watching movies in 3D. A truly immersive way to watch videos in 3D. Game playing becomes more fun and thrilling. Distance is no longer a problem. Lifelike product displays for online shopping. Complex traffic systems become easy to navigate. Education is no longer boring, but fun and lively. Anytime, anywhere, 3D scanning and printing. Well, all this is just the beginning. eStar will continue to create new technologies for holographic applications. We make the impossible possible and create better lives.